Welcome to the scattered 12 tribes abroad and to those grafted in. This is the Israelite in America, and I've got an interesting story for you today. As the title indicates, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. I came across this article just recently, and this is current. This is current events happening. So before I get into that really quick, yes, subscribe. Please subscribe. It helps the channel. Like and comment because I want to know your thoughts. I'd be curious to know what the community at large thinks about this and has to say about this, and who knew about this. And also, because it's possible, does anyone in the community know about these people that we're about to discuss here? Does anyone have any relations or connections with them? If so, let me know. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. So as the title states, all right, this is from the Los Angeles Times. After decades of struggle, dozens of African Hebrew Israelites face deportation from Israel. Okay, let's get into the details here. And here's a picture of some of them. Okay, so this is from July 21st, 2023. So we're at the end of August now. So this is pretty much the end of July, end of August, so just over a month since this story came out. Dimona, Israel. For 2 years, Tovit, Israel, and dozens of other residents of the Village of Peace have lived in fear. Dimona, a city on the edge of the nation of Israel's Negev desert, has been her home for 24 years. Her 8 children were born here and know no other country. Now, she and 130 other members of the African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem, who are not authorized to be in the country, face deportation. Now, stop right there. Some people that may be watching this are going to be, well, wait, they're not authorized to be in the country? Well, why are you complaining? If you're not authorized to be in the country, well, technically you can't be there. You got to be deported. That's how borders and such work. And to those people, I say, keep listening. Okay, for face deportation. Receiving the order to leave 2 years ago was a moment of disbelief for Israel, who's 53. I feel like the government has been merciless to me and my children, she said, which they have been. The Hebrew Israelites, as the spiritual community's members are commonly known, first made their way to Israel from the U.S. in the 1960s. While members do not consider themselves Jewish, they claim an ancestral connection to Israel. Okay, so this is a particular group of Hebrew Israelites that maybe it would be correct to say made a patronage back or pilgrimage back to Israel. That might be correct to say that. But this is a particular group of Hebrew Israelites, and there's a lot more than 130 of them. But those are the ones that are facing the deportation. Now, it's about to get really interesting here in a second. Around 3,000 Hebrew Israelites live in remote, hard-scrabble towns in southern Israel. The Village of Peace, a cluster of low-slung buildings surrounded by vegetable patches and immaculate gardens in Dimona, is the community's epicenter. Okay. Over decades, the Hebrew Israelites have made gradual inroads into Israeli society. After years of bureaucratic wrangling, about 500 members hold Israeli citizenship, and most of the rest have permanent residency. Okay, so years of wrangling. I want you to notice that. Years of wrangling. Have there been a lot of European Jews that have had years of wrangling? Because we know that Israel doesn't grant citizenship unless you are Jewish, according to their determination. And yet these guys, these Hebrew Israelites, have been able to, acquire citizenship or at least permanent residency. Now, hold on. It's going to get better. Hold on. But about 130 have no formal status and now face deportation. Some don't have foreign passports and say they have spent their entire adult lives in Israel and have nowhere to go. The community's long fight to secure its status shines a light on Israel's strict immigration policy, which grants automatic citizenship to people it considers Jewish. That's key. I'm glad this article said that. To citizenship to people it considers Jewish, because that is key here. But limits entry to others who don't fall under its definition. Okay. So with this knowledge right here, we have to ask ourselves, well, if they automatic citizenship, but limits entry to others who don't fall under its definition, and some of you guys will know how difficult it can be, or not can be, is to gain entry and citizenship, entry into Israel, let alone citizenship, just entry. The question then becomes, well, how did they get in here? How were they allowed in at all? How were they allowed in? And then, pardon me, and then how were they able to? How were they even able to acquire citizenship and permanent residence? The numbers that have. The African Hebrew Israelites are one of a constellation of black religious groups in the United States that emerged in the late 19th and 20th centuries and encompasses a wide spectrum of Christian and Jewish inspired beliefs. Okay, now we of course know that this is not correct. This is the newspaper's interpretation of black Hebrew Israelites. Some fringe black Hebrew groups in the United States hold extremist or anti-Semitic views. Of course, they would. You've got to say that. You've got to say that. According to the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center, the community in Dimona does not espouse such beliefs. So they say, well, they've got to say, hey, some of these black Hebrew Israelites are hateful, man. They've got to say that. Got to throw that in there. Some of them are extremists and hateful, but these ones we're talking about, they're peaceful ones. They're good ones. Got to point that out. Okay, skip down here a little bit. This is a quote, regardless of how they understand Jesus or how they dress or any of these other aspects, that underlying theological point is what binds them together, Brooks said. And that's I should have read this first, actually. African American Studies professor at Claflin University in South Carolina, my goodness, said these various religious communities share a belief that certain African peoples are descendants of the biblical Israelites and that the transatlantic slave trade was prophesied in the Bible. So this stuff is coming out. I want you guys to realize how impactful this is, or how there's another word, how poignant this is, that a paper like the Los Angeles Times is even saying this at all. He's even talking about, well, they claim that, they were certain African peoples are descendants of Israelites and the transatlantic slave trade was prophesied. This is very poignant. That means our message is getting out, and people, I'm telling you, the awakening is on fire. The 400 years, I believe, this is my personal belief, the 400 years are up, and now comes he wakes us up, and then judgment, and then all the good and less good for some people, things that follow thereafter. So the message is getting out. Okay, and then the same professor says, well, regardless of how they understand Jesus or blah blah blah, this is the thing that the underlying theological point is what binds them together, which is the belief that they are Israelites. The Hebrew Israelites believe they are descendants of the biblical tribes of Israel who, after the Roman conquest in AD 70, fled down the Nile and west into the African interior and were ultimately taken as slaves to North America centuries later. You see how people have made such rumpus about it, and by people I mean Israelites. We have spoken so much about it. People there have been too many presentations, too many articles, people posting on YouTube. TikTok, it's so out. The history can't be denied. So now even the Los Angeles Times has to be like, yeah, they believe they are descendants of the biblical tribes of Israel, who, after the Roman conquest, see, the paper doesn't deny the truth of the history. Where the skepticism comes in on this paper is, well, they believe they're descendants. I mean, we don't know, they could or they could not be, but it doesn't deny the historical fact of this that it's talking about, with all the Israelites and Jews that fled into Africa. You didn't hear that Jews had fled into Africa up until Israelites started talking about it and bringing us all out. You didn't hear that. But let's continue. This is important, y'all. Big things are happening and are going to happen. This is just talking about what they observe. Some of the they observe an interpretation of biblical laws formulated by their late founder that includes strict veganism, abstention, from tobacco and hard alcohol, fasting on the Sabbath, polygamy, and a ban on wearing synthetic fabrics. And before any one of you guys is like, well, they're wrong for that. That's not in Scripture. They have their interpretation wrong. Whichever one of you guys has everything in the Bible 100% right, you're keeping the law perfectly, your views are without fault and error, and you are absolutely sure of that, 100%, then cast the first stone. If there's one among you, then cast the first stone. Otherwise, God, I don't want to hear about, well, they're this, they're that. We all have different beliefs in the community, but there is that theological point that binds us together. So take it easy in the comments down there. Okay, and it goes on a little bit talking about how the group's leader had a spiritual vision to return to Israel, which the beliefs of the group at the moment are not the debate or the focus, other than what we've spoken on. And again, whoever's perfect cast the first stone. But they moved over there. Okay, so after a brief stint in Liberia, Ben Israel, which is the leader's name, and several dozen families of followers arrived in Israel in 1968. Okay, so they were there since 1968. Ben Israel died in 2014 at age 75 and is revered as a messianic figure, said Amadiel bin Yehuda, a community elder and spokesperson. We're Judeans by our tribal affiliation, he said. There's a strong tradition and continuity of cultural connections that root us here in this land. We didn't just fall out of the sky. Totally agree. Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting. Shortly after their arrival, the Hebrew Israelites' legal problems began. Israel initially granted them citizenship. Right? Initially granted them citizenship, but subsequently revoked it after changes in its law of return, which grants automatic citizenship to Jews. Doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound like another nation that makes a bunch of promises to black people and says, "Don't worry, we're gonna take care of you. We're gonna take care of you. We're gonna right the wrongs that have been done. Don't worry, we got you. Okay, here we're signing this. Here's your 40 acres and a mule. Oh wait, nope, sorry, I'm taking that back. We signed that into law, but we're taking it back." Doesn't this sound just like a certain other country? Huh? Now some of this other stuff, well, not some, but a lot of this other stuff that I was just talking about comes into play now. So when those people earlier who might have been, well, hey, they're there illegally, what do you expect? That's how a country has borders. You see this two-facedness, this wicked, I can't think of another word. This wickedness. They said, here, you're citizens, fine. And then they revoked it. Why would they grant them citizenship if they only grant citizenship to Jews? And yet this paper is claiming still, well, they claim that they're descendants of the tribes, is how this paper characterizes it. But even the Israeli government had given them citizenship and still has given some of them citizenship or permanent residence right now. Not every single one of them is going to be deported, but a swath of their group is. But I want you to see this wickedness, man. They initially granted citizenship, but then revoked it. They remained in the country illegally, so now they're illegal. And you see how easy it is to become a criminal. You see how easy. So now they remained in the country illegally. That makes them criminals. As far as the definition of the law is concerned, that makes these people criminals who were granted the rights and then had them revoked. Some of them stateless after renouncing their U.S. citizenship until the early 1990s when they began receiving a temporary Israeli residency. A turning point came in 2002 after a Palestinian gunman killed 6 people at a bat mitzvah party, including a 32-year-old Hebrew Israelite singer who had been performing. In response, Israel started granting the community members permanent residency. Okay. Permanent residency. Again, we know how the Israeli government is, how it operates. Why would they be, fine, here, have some citizenship or have at least some permanent residency. And we know how hard it is to get in there, let alone be granted permanent residency, citizenship, anything of the sort. I'm telling you, these people over there in the land, they know. Certainly the government knows. I'm not saying every individual Israeli on the street, but certainly the government, the people in control. In 2005, about 130 of them, without documentation, submitted requests for residency rights, accusing authorities of reneging on earlier promises to legalize their status, which they did. It's not an accusation, it's the truth. And people. So there now, mind you, there would still be people that were like, well, they don't have any papers. How are they going to get the citizenship? I mean, you got to have papers. They had already been granted citizenship, and it was taken from them. But I don't want this video to be far too long, so let's continue. The ministry's population. Hold on, I missed a spot. The Interior Ministry rejected the requests in 2021 and issued deportation orders to 49 people. 4 left the country, while the remaining 45 appealed. The rest remain in legal limbo. So they submitted their requests after being denied. All right, 2015, they submitted requests. Okay, so that is 6 years. 6 years later, they're like, nope. The government, which is no reason for it to take that long, but you know how garbage the things like this are and work. No reason for it to take that long. It's not like the government didn't know who they were or their story or anything. Had no reason for it to take that long. And I promise you, it wouldn't have taken that long if it had been European Jews. Okay, we all know that this wouldn't be happening if it was European Jews that had left their country and renounced their citizenship in some other country. The ministry's population and immigration authorities said the individuals subject to deportation had never appeared on lists submitted by Hebrew Israelite leaders and that some had entered Israel recently. Okay, again, the duplicitousness, is it duplicitousness or duplicity of these people? Let's go with duplicity. The duplicity of these people, of this thing. Oh, some of them didn't appear on lists that you guys had originally submitted. Yes, because some of them weren't born when they originally came over there and were granted citizenship. They were granted it and then you guys took it away. How could a kid that's 8 years old right now, 6 years old right now, 10 years old right now, they wouldn't have been even older. They wouldn't have been alive when they first came over here and then they took away the citizenship. You see that how weaselly and snake-like. Oh my gosh, man. I'm getting agitated. Gotta calm down. All right. It's not clear why their first requests for residency were only submitted in 2015, the authority said, or why the community didn't submit requests on behalf of those individuals. Oh, I mean, we don't know. Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do it this way? I mean, we just want to help. The community's deepened integration into Israeli society, over the years, has made the idea of deportation especially painful. Yeah, I'm sure. Dozens of young Hebrew Israelites serve in the Israeli military, and many work for Tiva Deli, a vegan food manufacturer. Again, guys, I can't keep this video too long, but the wickedness. They're deporting these people. Some of these people are serving in their military. So they're good enough to fight and die for you. They're good enough to fight and die, work as human shields in your war. But, I mean, they can't stay in the country. Their family can't stay in the country. They're good enough to be there and die and be used as meat sacks for bullets and bombs. But their family, no. The other members of their community, no, you guys can't stay. You see how wicked this is, man. The community runs a school where its students learn Hebrew and Black history as part of their education. Good deal. The majority of Village of Peace residents, particularly members of the younger generation that grew up in Israel, speak Hebrew fluently. Real quick, how many of you guys speak Hebrew fluently or even non-fluently? How many of you guys do? I do not speak Hebrew. I'll be the first to tell you, I do not speak Hebrew. On June 1st, the community celebrated New World Passover, a holiday marking the exodus from the United States of the Hebrew Israelites who came to Israel in the 1960s. Families dressed in vibrant pattern outfits and... Okay, so... let's close out here. Months have dragged on without a decision from the Israeli authorities, leaving the undocumented Hebrew Israelites suspended between their homes in the Holy Land and what they see as exile. Ben Israel, who grew up in Bermuda and moved to Israel from the United States in 1991, is slated to be deported with four of his 5 children. Wickedness. The guy's been here all this time. He's 55. You know what? Get him out. This guy's clearly a criminal, right? This Ben Israel and his 5 children. He's a criminal. Got to be a criminal. Been living in there 45 years. He's a danger to the country. Got to get him out. Anyway, guys, I guess that's the end of the article. we'll close out here. I just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention. Spread this around the community. Let others know. Reshare this video or take a screenshot of the title or whatever you want to do. Let other people know so that I'm not sure all that could be done really, because it's not like we can at this time the powers that be are just that. But at least we can spread awareness in our community. This is how we are treated. I'm sorry for the sound. I just slapped my knee out of reflex. This is how we're treated. It doesn't matter where we go. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter how peaceful we are. It doesn't matter. They complain about fatherlessness and families. These people have fathers. They're strong families. They're living peacefully. They're law-abiding citizens, and yet they're criminals. And the country's got to get rid of them. It just doesn't matter. We can't get a break. Oh my gosh. Anyway. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, share, comment. This has been the Israelite in America, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.